Hi, welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm Tammy White. I'm the founder of the Bobby White Foundation. I'm your host, along with my special co-host.
And I am Bonnie Snyder, your co-host.
So, before we get started, I want to again thank WeBeam TV for allowing us to do this. Today's a special show, and if it wasn't for their support, we probably wouldn't be here. And it's very special and means a lot to us. And other ways that you can support our show is through our kindness website. There's many different levels that you can help support the work that we're doing. And Greg Schindler's State Farm office told me today that they're going to continue their fundraiser.
Oh, nice.
Throughout this month. So you could call their office and just get a quote and just say that the Bobby White Foundation, and they'll make a donation. So I mentioned that today is a special show for many reasons. Today is actually, if I can get it out, if I can, the 5th anniversary of my husband's death. And we have a special guest. My sister-in-law, Mary Keane, is here with us via Zoom. Hey, Mary. So
Hi.
we want to welcome you, and I'm glad that you could be here with us today. Help me get through the show. But we're here to celebrate Bobby's life.
Yes.
That's what it's going to be about.
You know, through these shows, we tend to acknowledge that the anniversaries and even when we go through holidays, that they're difficult for those of us that have been left behind, with our loved ones. And yes, we've talked a lot about this show and how coincidentally, this show would fall on the anniversary of losing Bobby. So Mary, is Tammy's friend. I mean, friends first, co-host second. I want to welcome you to the show, to celebrate. And
Thank you very much.
Yeah, talk about this special person that was your brother and Tammy's husband, Bobby.
Yes.
Yeah, this is actually the first time that we've had a sibling on that is a lost survivor. So, why don't you tell us from you about Bobby?
I think that my brother had a beautiful spirit. He was curious and very smart and very loving. He loved nature and the great outdoors. He had a very sharp wit. Could be very sarcastic, but he was a character. And he definitely marched to his own drummer.
That picture there that's up right now.
I see it.
This is how part of his humor. He would do almost anything for me. He was actually modeling the first one of those hood things that I made for that I crocheted.
He looks like he could play a part in Spamalot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he was just okay. I'll do it.
Yeah. He was a wonderful chef. He loved to cook. He loved the kitties.
Yeah, that's him trying to read the Sunday paper.
Yeah. He loved his family. He loved his nieces and nephews, and loved his wife Tammy. And he was a wonderful big brother. There he is on his 60th birthday.
His 60th birthday. I can't believe that we were able to pull that surprise off.
Yeah, it was amazing. We were walking down the street trying to hide in the bushes so he wouldn't see us. But yeah, it was a great celebration. And yeah, there he is, cooking with the big bro, big Finn. And he loved to smoke and barbecue and cook, and he loved music. There he is at a beautiful
we went to, they had a John Lennon exhibit down in Tampa
museum,
a few years ago when we went. That was really cool.
And he was him and I were.
And we do clean up really well. See.
Yes, handsome fella.
Handsome
fella. Everybody said he looked like Chris Christopherson or some other celebrity.
Really? This picture here was actually from my first time I was nominated for Queen Chasco. And so we had to get all dressed up. But
oh my God, Mary, hearing you say the resemblance to Chris Christopherson, all the while I'm looking at him like, who does he remind me of? There's somebody that he reminds me of, and you just nailed it.
Yeah. I think he was striking. Like when he walked into a room, he had just these beautiful blue eyes, and people would just go, wow, look at that guy,
Yeah, he had the most gorgeous blue eyes.
He had a charisma about him. I mean, very low key though. I mean, he wasn't flamboyant about anything. He was a very simple human being. He just loved fishing, loved the outdoors, very much like my dad. He just,
that's typical him.
Yeah. I just, I try to remember him in just positive ways. That helps me to cope. They're my granddaughters when they made that beautiful door for the fundraiser for the Bobby White Foundation.
This is actually now.
That's the new one.
Yeah, this is the new one.
The Art for Hope.
Yeah, we had it up last year and we didn't sell it. So I just this morning created an event on the foundation Facebook page, and that door is now up for auction. You just go to the Bobby White Foundation Facebook page and find the event. It started at 11 o'clock. It will run through April 29th. And all you have to do in order to participate is to put your bid in the comments below the picture from the event. And it'll, like I said, it'll run through April 29th, which is actually the day that we had his life celebration that year. And
it's a Bobby loved the Beatles, and that's a beautiful antique door that Michael and Amy, my son and my daughter-in-law, found at a beautiful antique shop, and then the girls put the lyrics to one of Bobby's favorite songs on there, and it's a work of art. I mean, people can put them up in their homes or businesses, and they really are a showstopper.
The business who purchased the first two that Haley did is displayed in their office.
Yes.
For their business. So, and this door actually, didn't Michael say that the window actually rolls up and down?
I do, yes.
I believe that it is a working door. The window will roll up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are our great nieces. They're so beautiful and talented.
And the girls, they are beautiful artists, both of them. And they just, are just so grateful to be a part of celebrating the foundation and helping others as they face these types of crises in their life. So to prevent suicide and to help the families. We collectively as a family are very proud of Tammy and all of her efforts to develop and create the Bobby White Foundation, and to provide the community services through community agencies, police, firefighters, hospitals, doctors, etc., to fill the void that was in our community when she was faced with this 5 years ago. She took her pain and put it into good works. And we are so proud of her and her efforts and her diligence, her intellect to find all the different avenues to develop and create this foundation and, to help others. We are just, words cannot express how proud we are of her.
Thanks.
Mary, if I can echo, my relationship with Tammy started at a work function. And, I just remember watching, listening to her talk about the Purple Folder. And I walked up to her, and, had a short conversation with her, because that was right after I had lost my grandson, to a suicide. He was 14. And, at that time, as we were talking, I was like, I want to get involved with what you're doing. At that time, Tammy was like, it's too soon. And I remember looking at him like, who are you to tell me it's too soon? Kind of like, not, like verbalized. And I was thinking, she said it was too soon. Like, what did she mean by that? We stayed connected. And, through that, I don't know, say a chance meeting. I had to be there. It was work. But through that,
you were just friends that hadn't met yet.
Exactly. And, to have that meeting at a work setting morph into, the close friendship that we share now, and, to allow us, to have this platform, of course, we as Tammy said at the beginning of the show, we thank, John and his crew here at WeBeam TV, to allow us to have this platform. But if I may ask, Mary, Tammy shared, and for, the people who tune in to us in every episode, this is the first time that we have had a sibling of someone lost to suicide as a guest. Can you share with, our viewers what you went through, what your feelings, what your emotions, what your thoughts were when you got that call that said, Mary, Bobby's gone?
Total despair. I was at work. I'm a school teacher. I'm a retired school teacher now, but on this day, which was a Friday of 2016, I can remember where I was like it was frozen in time. I got a phone call, and I just, I think when I first heard it, I'm a person of faith, deep Catholic faith, and I just knew that he was in God's hands, But then my brain just went automatically to Tammy, like, what can we do to help? And after the initial shock, it's just such a void in your family. It's like a hole in your heart. Like you just, you just think, okay, well, this isn't real. This isn't happening. It's hard for your brain to wrap itself around it. But then, we had to help and just be there for Tammy, because our hearts were just broken for her, and that, in the 5 years that have transpired, we've gone, I try to, my ability to cope is to know that he's with my parents up in heaven, and that he is out of pain. And because I know that he was, every inch of his body, from the tip of his head to the tip of his toe, was in pain with his addiction and his, just
MS.
This terrible,
from the multiple sclerosis.
Yeah, he had faced MS for almost 20 years, right, Tam?
It was just over 25 years.
He was a colon cancer survivor, and I do believe that he was starting to get physically ill from the MS, which I think perpetuated this event to happen. So it's my brother and sister, my older brother and sister, have a lot of trouble coping with the loss of our brother. And I seem to be the one that I want to be of help with Tammy. I want to try to help others who are going through it. And just, Tammy has such perseverance, she is honoring my brother. And in her, like I said, in her pain and grief, she is turning it into something positive out in the world. And she's helping people to prevent it from happening and to be able to cope with it if it does. And she's doing God's work. So I am just like, I've tried to be of support to her, and I hope that she feels that. She feels my love and the support that I try to give her. And I have been blessed enough to be able to participate in giving out some of the purple folders to people in the community, and it's helped them a great deal. So, but as a sibling, it is. It's, you feel like a part of you is missing. And I tend to go back to, childhood memories and looking at pictures and reminiscing. And we talk about him. We talk about him and we remember him, and we try to focus on the happy times. And like I said, I just, it's a very strange place to walk.
And I can tell you, just from my own experience, that yes, Tammy loves you very much, and she feels it. So for me personally, I'm blessed to finally be able to put a face to a name, because I hear about you all the, she talks about you all the time.
Well, I look like Bobby a lot too.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
And I think that, I hope that comforts her. and doesn't upset her. Because I'm very different from my brother. Like I was just like a very conservative,
Yeah, your personalities are a lot different.
and Bobby was a free spirit, He, we just, but I definitely accepted him for all of that, all the beauty and all the complexity. But we were very different in some ways, and yet we still had that beautiful connection as a sibling. Yeah. He knew that when he needed a good swift kick in the butt, I was the person to come to.
If we could unpack some of what you said as you were describing your relationship with with Bobby, and what you were experiencing and hearing, getting that phone call that said he's gone. And as you're telling me, I'm a school teacher. I was in school, and I'm feeling you when I got the phone call about Aiden, my grandson. I work in the schools, and like you, I was in school when I got that phone call. So I can only imagine. But I want to do a little piece and parcel with you, if I may, as it relates to some of the things that you said. Like, let's focus a minute on the coping and how you're coping with Bobby's loss. One of the things I heard you say was, I'm a deep person of faith, and I find comfort, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit here. I find comfort in the fact that he's with my mom and dad in heaven. A couple of weeks ago, Tammy and I had a faith-based leader, on the show, to talk about how some people believe that when a person dies by suicide, they're condemned and they're not going to heaven. How do you, as from what I'm understanding, a person of faith, handle when people tell you, well, he's not in heaven, he died?
I've never had anybody ever say that to me. And I know better, because God is a loving and forgiving God. He knew that Bobby was hurting, and he accepted him with open arms when he went to heaven. I think that the other connotation is maybe from old school, like, fire and brimstone of decades ago. But today, God is a loving God, is a forgiving God. And I've never had anybody but give me support and compassion and understanding. Because, as you know, this particular phenomenon affects all walks of life across the globe. So, it's been, it's everyone, I think, can relate to it, either with somebody that they know or, someone in their community. I mean, this is just something, mental health issues have to be addressed. And I think that when somebody gets to a part of their lives where they're so despondent and they don't think that there's any other way out, they have to have a plan B. They have to have people they can reach out to get the help that they need so that they can, get through the crisis they're in. And for those who are, the families that are survivors, they also need help. I've gone to some meetings with Tammy, and I've seen the pain that people go through and the terrible challenges that they have to face. And we can do it if we do it together. You have to reach out to professionals and people that can help you through it. And but as far as my faith, I miss him. I miss my brother, but I know where he is. And that's how I come to accept it. And other times I'll say, I'm sure Tammy experiences it as you do too, Bonni, that you just like, oh, wait, did this really happen? Like, I try to envision him like he's on a trip, like he's on a voyage, and he's okay, and he's not in pain, and he's with people that love him. And someday I'll see him. I'll see him one day when my time comes. So that's how I can wrap my head around it. But my older brother and my older sister, I think to this day, Tammy will agree with me that they have not done as well.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Sometimes it's they talk about him in positive ways, but they can't talk about the reality of what happened or how that's affected them. They try to just kind of redirect conversations. So, and that's an inability to cope.
And within that realm, I don't hardly ever see him unless it's once a year at a family event or something.
Yeah, it's really, I think it's hard for them to deal with it. It really is. There's a whole myriad of emotions. I won't be the one to even predict of what all those are, because they won't even share them with me at times. But
sometimes I feel, because of the way things have been, the last several years with the two of them, that it's hard for them to be around me.
It's painful, I think. It's painful because it makes it a reality to them.
Right.
But I find that when I'm with you, I feel at peace, because I do feel that he's with me, and I feel that he's with us when we're together, when we talk.
Well, and that's the different ways that it's how all three of you cope differently.
Yes. I don't know. See, one of the things I wouldn't see my brother all the time because I lived a busy life. I was working full time. I had 3 kids. I had grandkids. I was running around all the time. So I didn't see him like on a weekly basis or like, even a monthly basis sometimes, but he always knew that I loved him, and I was always there for him. So I was not on bad terms with Bobby. I was kind of like the peacemaker, the intermediary.
Yeah, actually, you were.
Yeah, and so I think because I know that I was at peace with him, and he knew that I loved him, that helped me to cope as well. There wasn't like any turbulence at that time between us, so that helps me to cope too.
And, you did hit on some, key components, speaking my language, I'm a mental health professional, and so I'm listening to you speaking my language, and I was like, yeah, she's nailing it. I was particularly struck by, something you said where you envision that Bobby's on a trip. And that makes me think of my granddaughter, Aiden's, older, one of Aiden's older sisters. And that's her way of coping with, her brother being gone. She tells herself Aiden is in Florida with Nana. and maybe he'll come home. At the same time, she also, has wrangled with, the anger and, the other emotional
Yeah.
components that come along with that.
That's one of the things I wasn't, I was angry at him for what he was doing to Tammy. That's the only manifestation of anger. I wasn't really mad at him because I know that he wasn't in his right mind when it happened. But I was like angry of what he didn't realize the ripple effects of how it was going to affect all of us, especially Tammy, because she was always his number one cheerleader. Right.
I see that, and I see that in her. The other key component that you hit on is the fact that everyone deals with this in their own different ways. Tammy and I, in the past weeks, we talked about the law survivor bills of rights and highlighted how, this journey is different for everyone. And then there are some cases where the journey might be exactly the same, where, if I personalize it for a second, I processed my grandson's death a little differently than, how I 6 months later processed my youngest son, not my grandson's dad, mind you, my grandson, his father's my oldest son, making this phone call 6 months later and saying, son, I need you to come to Florida now, your little brother is gone. And watching, our family dynamic, processing those two deaths. So I appreciate you, pointing out that grief cycle is different for everybody, along with deflection. How do we, if we're not in a place to accept the reality that that person is no longer with us, what are those self?
The waves of sadness do run over us at times. Sometimes, a memory or a picture or an event will just kind of flood us and with emotion, and we'll feel just a sadness, like, oh, he would have loved that, or I think that that's going to be something that will probably stick with all of us for the rest of our lives. The what ifs, or but again, it really comes down to just taking time to heal, and like you said, at all different rates for different people. But I do know that he's at peace, and that's how I can cope. And I know it's hard because I see how Tammy sometimes is experiencing things, and I want to so much to take that pain away from her, but I can't. I can try to help relieve it a little bit, but she's again putting her energies into making things better for the greater good. And I hope that that's helping, and I know that that's helping her a great deal.
Mary, do you ever feel any regrets? It's like as you're on this journey, have you experienced, or do you, feel yourself sometimes in your mind saying, I regret, or if only, because we talk about, in our line of work, not to engage in the coulda, shoulda, wouldas. At the same time, we know that those are real and they do manifest. Can you talk to us a little bit about any coulda, shoulda, woulda regrets that you may have, if you've had any?
I think that my regret, obviously, is that we couldn't stop it from happening. I know that my brother for decades had said on occasion, when he had overindulged in different things, he would say things that I wouldn't say that. Well, obviously they were a bit, in retrospect, suicidal thoughts, like, oh, I'm not gonna grow old, or I'm not gonna do, like, and we didn't really take it seriously, like anything that would happen. But I do regret that I I couldn't reach out and help him when he was suffering, and that maybe I could have made things better for him. That's what I regret, that I wasn't able to help him when he needed it.
But Mary, he wasn't letting us know.
Yeah.
He wasn't letting us know.
And to that point, I wonder, how much of it for the both of you, when you hear him say, I'm not going to make it to an old age, was your brain, I'm going to presume that your brain was not processing because he was going to die by suicide. It is, I have MS, and right. I'm not going to make it to, so I would say it's not so much dismissing, I guess when I'm hearing that, I wonder how much of it is, okay, that's reality and acceptance.
Yeah, and I think it was last week when we were on the show that, now my brain is just going to mush. I always assumed that he was going to die from complications from his MS. After over 25 years of it. And we were super lucky to have him those 25 years, because when he was first diagnosed, we had no idea what our journey was going to be like. We left Fort Lauderdale to move up here to be near family. And, fortunately, we did have those 25 years. And in that sense, as time went on, he would often comment, especially the closer he was getting to retirement age, that I'm never going to see my Social Security. But I never would have equated suicide with him not reaching Social Security age.
Yeah.
And I actually, I was at a Rotary meeting, and I was a speaker, and one of our attorneys asked me, in retrospect, is there anything that you may have, something that happened that now this is what it looks like? And that's what I told him. I said, yeah. I said, he would often comment that he wasn't ever going to get his Social Security, and on a couple occasions comment that it was for me. But again, not ever thinking that it was because he was.
Yeah, he didn't want to be a burden on you, Tammy.
No, I know he didn't, and he.
Take your time. It's okay, sweetheart.
He did tell me that several times.
And I do think that as, around 2016, I do believe that Bobby was suffering some more physical symptoms, and he just was keeping it from you. I think that his vision was starting to be impaired, and his muscle weaknesses, and I think that the disease was progressing.
Well, and he had that really, really bad exacerbation, the fall prior to him taking his life.
Yes.
And it took him longer to bounce back from that. And in retrospect, I think that he really didn't bounce back as much as he was leading everybody to believe, that he was.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard for people who are, dealing with, whether it is an illness, whether it is a physical or a, mental health illness. I don't want to be a burden. I don't, as, we shared with Patrick, I'm tired of feeling like I feel. I don't want people to worry about me. So let me take the weight off of everybody by doing this, we teach, people who are dealing with someone who is potentially suicidal is, one thing we don't say to them, think about the people that you're going to leave behind, because, to a large degree.
That adds another burden.
Well, not only that, but it is, I am thinking about the people I'm going to leave behind, because my being here is more of a burden than my not being here. So I'm doing this so they
they're seeing the repercussions in a whole different lens.
Exactly. And I don't think people look at it that in that context. Most people,
Right.
when they say think about the people that you leave behind, it is more, the intention is more, let me inflict guilt and shame, and like guilt you into not doing it, when the approach should be, we don't feel burdened. We don't, you're not a burden to us. Yes, this is a challenge, and there's a difference between a challenge and a burden.
Well, and with us, and it started many, many years ago because Bobby had been diagnosed with MS prior to us even getting married. And I remember years ago, my mother-in-law, Mary, who is also Mary, we have like a million Marys in our family. She would go to, her and I would go to the support groups for people that had MS. And typically, it was the people that had MS that were there. And I remember so many times, and even your mother even said to me, why are you marrying him?
Think about it.
He has MS. And the people at the support group, they thought I was absolutely out of my mind. And I'm like, well, I think he had been diagnosed probably like 2.5 years or so before we got married.
Mm-hmm. And perhaps you had a martyr complex or something.
I don't know. And it's just like, and I remember standing at the kitchen sink at Mom and Dad's house with your mother and her saying that to me. And I was just like,
I don't think she said that you were crazy, but she said, do you know what you're getting yourself into?
She's like, why are you doing this? And I just, of course, you have to know my mother-in-law. She was a typical New York woman. And and sometimes she would come off, the way she said things. And I just remember turning and looking at her.
She was direct, but she was loving.
Yeah, she was very loving. But, some of the things. But I just remember turning at her and looking at her because, number one, I really have never had anybody talk like that. First New Yorkers I ever met was this family. And I remember the first day sitting down with them, and I was scared. I mean, I just remember looking up, and everybody was talking all over everybody. But anyway, so I just turned to her and I said, because I love him. What?
I'm not marrying MS. I'm marrying Bobby.
Yeah, and it just, I was like, that's really kind of a weird thing to say to me, And
Tammy proved how strong fortitude, loyalty. She was always she was the reason Bobby survived it.
Mary, I'm gonna echo that one. There's a lot of dynamite in this tiny little package. A lot of dynamite. So you're from New York, I understand. I'm gonna veer off for a second. You're from New York originally?
Yes, born and raised. Yeah.
So I just have to share with this. It's an aside for a second. I'm from New Jersey. You do know we own the Statue of Liberty. So on the New Jersey side.
That's right.
I would throw that a little humor in there. Okay, Mary, let me go back to a minute. Your relationship with Bobby. So I understand you're a younger sister.
I'm the baby. Yeah.
You're the baby. Okay. So can you share with us, as we're talking and celebrating, this wonderful life that was Bobby White. And, I got to say.
He was so handy. We miss him.
Well, can you share with us one of the, how little, older siblings tend to play pranks and whatnot on younger siblings?
Oh, he tortured me.
So can you share one of your most favorite memories of how your big brother would torture his baby sister?
Okay, so picture this. I'm going to venture to say I was probably around 3 or 4 years old. And my older brother, Jay, and Bobby, they were running around the yard with my sister and I. And they basically took me and tied me with a rope on the tree and shot me with darts. Okay, like suction darts. And so I just remember them torturing me and doing a lot of screaming and calling out for my mom, "Ma, come, rescue me." But they tortured me all the time. They teased me. They just, it was just part of the territory.
Bobby always blamed his rotor cuff problems on you.
Oh, why is that?
Something about you guys got into a fight as teenagers, and
he picked me up and dropped
banister, me. There was something with the banister.
Yeah, I think he picked me up and I fell, and then I made believe like I was unconscious. Yeah. He did. He tortured me, but he was like 5 years older than me. So he was like out of the house, as soon as he got out of high school, he went out. He was like he went through a very preppy stage. And then by the time he was a senior in high school, he was a hippie in 1971. And he hitchhiked across the country. So, from the time he was 18, I was only like 13. He was out of the house, so, he wanted to experience different things and, finally made his way back to the family. But he had a wayward spirit sometimes.
What's your favorite memory?
Favorite memory. I loved his laugh. I just remember happy times in their house, cooking and having barbecues and singing and just, him rolling his eyes. Because sometimes he thought like us as a family, we were a little over the top, But I definitely just remember his smile and, just he had a good heart. He was, he always wanted to do the right thing, and he took a lot of pride in his work. He had a great work ethic. He was a master surveyor, and he took his work very seriously. And no matter what he did, he always tried to always do his best, and that was ingrained in us from our parents. To just make a difference, be a light in the world, and so underneath it all, he really had a heart of gold.
Mary, if you could say anything, let's just say right now we have a direct line, your mouth to Bobby's ears. What would you say to him right now?
I love you and I miss you. And I just wish him peace. I'm not gonna. I don't feel angry. Like I could say, oh, I'm mad that you're gone and all that, but it's not gonna bring him back. So what I do have, I hold very dear and I cherish those memories. They're very close to my heart with him. I try to just remember him smiling and going fishing and being handy. He was always tinkering, doing things just like Tammy. Tammy's another one. She's like multifaceted. She's got so many talents. But I do remember that he had a great love. He loved my mom. And I think when my mom passed in 2010, that was a big crush to his heart.
Yeah,
and I don't think that we really realized how deeply I think he felt regret.
Yeah, when Mom passed
things
away
in his life, and he really missed my mom. And when both my parents were both gone, that was just like crushing to him.
It was. There was a change in him when Mom passed away.
Yeah,
there was a definite change in him.
And I think that the reality of our mortality, became very real for him. Life is fleeting, and it's temporal. So I think that it just gave him a lot of food for thought.
Too much.
And, you know, when he was around me, he kind of put on a mask. Like, he was always, he tried to be happy, and, you know, like, he didn't really, he didn't want to burden me with anything that was, like, he was struggling with. Because, you know, the times that we were together, we tried to make the best of it. We tried to, like, you know, just celebrate the good things in life, you know, and not think about all the struggles that we were all having. So, but I would definitely tell him that I love him and I miss him, and that I hold him very precious, you know, in my heart.
What would you say? Because as you know, the title of our show is Hope. You know, then of course we have that in the light of suicide. I want to focus on the hope part of our show's title. As a sibling who has obviously dealing with the loss of, in this case, an older sibling, what words of hope or wisdom, or however you want to package it, would you give to other siblings who, like you, are struggling with the loss of a sibling that they were close to, that they loved, and not so much your journey is exactly as mine, but as support? What would you say in support of other siblings?
You're not alone. You're not alone, and there's help out there to help you to survive this tragedy. And Tammy is making that a reality for our community. It's not just lip service with her. She's put in the work. She continues to put in the work, and to outreach, and to reach out to anyone who can benefit from her knowledge and her the connections and the all of the technological materials and things available that people can tap into as a resource to help them to cope. There is hope. You are not alone, and you are loved, and there are people that understand and have compassion for what you're going through. So hang in there. And again, taking this experience and making something good for others is the only way to make sense of it. It's when you can help somebody else through it. And I salute her. I respect and admire what she has done for the community, and what she continues to do for our family. She's very strong, stronger than she'll ever know.
I agree with you there. As we move into the last segment of the show, and you talk about Tammy's resilience, and like I said, she's feisty. She's feisty. You're her sister-in-law, so I might,
little Spitfire.
Exactly. I might compete with you about in terms of love. I'll concede. I'll give it to you, your family.
She's only known me longer too.
But yeah, you've known her only because you've known her longer. I'll just go there. But yeah, you're right. And I think that's a really nice segue into, Mary, thank you so much for sharing, your story and your journey with Bobby. Not that we're saying we want you to go away. Do not log off.
Yeah, don't go anywhere
log off. Stay right there. But that is
Well, I didn't know what today was going to really be about. I didn't know. I'm hopeful that I have reiterated the importance of the Bobby White Foundation and the Purple Folder campaign, and to let the community know that it is a lifesaver in more ways than one. And I, as I said, I respect and admire everything that Tammy Hope White is doing for our community and for our world. Thank you.
We, as a matter of fact, and I want to hit on something that you mentioned about Bobby being a hippie. We had a volunteer come and help me assemble folders on Tuesday, and she told me she was trying to describe Bobby and I to her brother, and she just kind of looked and she goes, well, the only way that I could really do it is they were the ultimate hippie. And
he was a nature lover, peace, love. There was nothing pretentious about him. He was just a good average guy, making his way. And but yeah, he loved music and partying and having a good time, and he loved you, Tam.
One thing, Mary, about our show is nothing about it is scripted. Do not,
and that's great.
We do not, we may have an agenda. This is what we're going to talk about today, and sometimes, we're on point. There are other times where it's like, we didn't get through
we ran out today. But let's go back to the purple folder, because we have talked about that a little bit. And actually, I got a phone call yesterday afternoon from a gal in my Rotary Club. And a woman that she knows in her Bible study group just within the last couple days lost her niece to suicide, and it was a drug overdose. Mm-hmm. And so she wanted to come over and pick up 2 of the purple folders. Nice. One for her friend and then one for herself, because she also, within the last few years, lost her nephew to suicide. So these people are knowing, and they know when they hear of somebody that has lost somebody, people are starting to pick up the phone and call.
And 5 years ago today, you were promised help and support and direction, and you weren't given it.
Not at all.
And you made it a reality.
Not at all.
You made it.
None of us got it. I mean, it was. There was no help for any of our family. And that day, everybody was in our front yard. Everybody came immediately as soon as they heard. And we weren't. I don't know if you remember that sheriff kneeling down in front of me and saying,
"Yep,
this is my territory. If you ever need me, I'll be here in a second." And me being a business person in the community, my first thought is, do you have a card? I need a name and a phone number. And he just looked up at me and pointed to his shirt. No, but this is my name. I don't even know what he looked like. I don't know his name.
It's such a trauma when you go through something like this, and when the dust settles, you need to be able to say, okay, where's my map? Where am I going to get help? How, and Tammy, all through that confusion, out of that rubble came a light. And you said, okay, I don't know what to do, but I'm going to find out. And you did the footwork. You found out every step of the way what you had to do. And with every success, we applauded you and cheered you on. And now you are making great things happen for thousands of lives of people in the area.
Well, and I didn't do this alone. I've had a lot of help along the way.
Yes, and yes, you have. But you got everything going, kiddo. And you have loyal friends and a wonderful co-host there. And you're providing a wonderful service to people who need it.
Well, and that's one thing, too, that I have mentioned. I'm fortunate because I do have a lot of really wonderful friends and family. And there's a lot of people that are in our position that don't have that support. Absolutely. And that need that support. You want to grab that? And,
on that, because, we're like at our 2-minute mark, we just want to take a real quick minute and, show our audience our T-shirts. This is a Tammy Vision here. These shirts are available for purchase on the foundation website. So it has, the Hope logo on the front. And on the
there it is.
back, it's got a picture of it up right there.
Yep.
But yeah, if you go to Bobby White Foundation /t-shirts.
You can go take a picture of that QR code, and it'll take you right to the landing page. And you can order them directly for pickup. If you're here local, Sunco or Gulfside Custom T-shirts are the ones that are doing these for us, and they're doing a wonderful job. They actually donated 24 T-shirts to the foundation. And I only have a few of them at the office, but if you want to call the office, I do have some there. They're $20, or you can order them directly from the website, and they'll ship them anywhere. So,
yeah, and that's another part of our support, Tim, at Gulfside.
This Gulfside T-shirts have been wonderful. And this is the first. We're going to have more T-shirts to come, but this is the one that we did in honor of our first program, the Purple Folders.
And with that, again, as we ride this out, just a reminder that there's always, support out there, whether it's through the foundation, whether it's through NAMI, whether it's through, any of the
AFSP.
mental health resources. Exactly. Please don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you for always, tuning in. Again, a shout out to WeBeam TV for allowing us to bring this show to you. Mary, we thank you for showing on, as Tammy and I said.
Yeah, I want to thank my sister-in-law for sharing. It means a lot.
Yeah, it's an honor and pleasure to honor you, Tammy, and to honor the memory of my brother.
Remember, there's
Bobby White.